Joining me to discuss is the Roots' Michael Harriot. Michael, thank you so much and welcome back to Amplified. I always appreciate your insights. And I have to say that on this one, when I first saw, I had this kind of duh reaction. When I first saw that there were these anonymous organizers who are conspiring now, to help out members of Congress, and they're spilling their guts, probably because they want to get off as best they can. I was like, okay, whatever. We knew some people were going to come fess up. We already know that Trump was behind all this and egged it on. So okay, you corroborated it. Great. But what has been fascinating to me is that there's this really detailed level of conspiracy happening in this war room that was set up to plan the logistics of all of this that I just find to be really striking. What do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, I don't want to give it too much credit. Like if you have Lauren Boebert, who didn't graduate from high school, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert in a room, and Madison Cawthorn, who doesn't know who the founding fathers are. I don't want to, hyperbolize this level of sophistication that we're talking about, right? Like these are people who, can barely probably know their 7 times tables. But, the interesting thing is that with all of this level of sophistication, all the power, all the money, how inept it was, right? Like, it is just like how the Trump administration handled the country for the last 4 years, right? He had all of the power and all of the money, and he couldn't get anything done. And basically they just, were doing the same thing as like when somebody starts shooting at the club. They was like, we're just gonna run up in there and try to jump behind the bar. But what this does speak to is, we're finding this out because of this January 6th investigation, when we should, the FBI should be doing this, right? It's congressmen shouldn't be doing this. They have a limited amount of power that they could use to incarcerate the people behind this. They can censure some of the people in Congress, but it's not a lot they could do besides issue a report. This is the stuff that the FBI should do and the Department of Justice should be doing, and that's what we should be talking about.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was going to be my other, question to you. Right now, Department of Justice has, to be fair, arrested hundreds of these riot goers. They're like coming down, slapping some of them on the wrist, filing charges that are a little heavy-handed against others, trying to hold the average person, the trumped up cop who came from Minnesota, accountable to like being at this bad rally. But you got all these people in Congress who presumably offered maps of the tunnels, right? This is a rumor that we've heard, who talked about how to do this organizing. And we know that people showed up on the Hill with weapons, right? At the behest of, being hosted by some of these members of Congress who are like, oh, come on over here and demonstrate, right? How is it that Congress is going to police itself? Can Congress actually police itself? And what then should be done if they can't? By this committee, this January 6th commission that Congressman Benny Thompson is leading up right now, what should actually be done to hold these members accountable in the House while there is some figuring out of what other legal kind of prosecution, whatever, should be happening outside of Congress? What are we going to do with them?
Well, you're right about that. It's like, you investigating yourself for a crime. You're going to find yourself not guilty, or some of your homeboys or homegirls. So the thing, again, there is a limited amount of things that Congress can do, right? And, the most specific thing that they could do is to refer, after their investigation, whatever they find, refer charges to the Federal Bureau of Investigation or the FBI. But what we're talking about is an incident of domestic terrorism, right? And it's some dude from North Carolina who, trained for a couple of years as a lawyer, shouldn't be in charge of this, right? This shouldn't be left to the whims of congressional staff, because that's who's really doing the investigation. This should be done by trained investigators who are deputized law enforcement officials who can lock people up. Because, I'm not afraid of congressional members. People will lie in front of Congress. We see what Steve Bannon has done. So we're talking about the health and safety of like the literal democracy that we live in. and we're leaving it up to some guys who Nancy Pelosi appointed and said, look into this woman.
Isn't it ironic, though, that the Republicans, I'm thinking about Texas right now, where literally the Texas state legislature just deputized armed citizens to run around and report on people who are trying to have abortions and the people who are trying to help them, right? They've literally emboldened the citizenry to go out and essentially be bounty hunters. What if the Democrats passed some kind of law that said, hey, citizens, you are now empowered to go out and to rein up, all of the people that have been involved in this, including members of Congress, and there's a bounty on their head, and we'll pay you $10,000, and we're going to arrest them. It's just so interesting to me how Republicans want to go through all kind of like really crazy extensive measures to quote unquote sort out, the bad actors and like arrest people for unlawful behavior. But they run around on Capitol Hill completely, free, popping their collars, and there's nothing in place to harangue them. And it's just, to me, it's just baffling. It's just baffling. And I wonder, so the January 6th committee, I mean, to your point, the most they could do, I guess, is censure their colleagues, get a whole vote of the Congress to censure these particular ones so that they can't vote, they can't hold committee positions, whatever. I doubt that it's going to come to that. But what they have been making a big show over, and I don't want to downplay it by calling it a show, but certainly a lot of the fervor in the press from the January 6th committee right now is all about Steve Bannon, and how they're going to get Steve Bannon, and how there's bipartisan agreement that they're going to either come up with some way to fine him $100,000, to force him to come and speak, or whatever it is, to get him to be on the record here because he is just evading Congress right now. And I wonder, Michael, is this kind of focus right now on nabbing Steve Bannon a distraction? Is he really the right guy, or is he going to end up being the fall guy for all of this?
Yeah, I think it is less of a distraction and more of he's a patsy, right? He is the one we can focus on it on both sides, because the Democratic Party, some of the leaders, they really don't want to get to the bottom of this either, right? They're political foes, but some of the Democrats are besties with some of the people on the right who were conspiring to do this insurrection. So they kind of want to step back and they want to make it look like they're doing something. But, there's not really a big difference between, some of the white Democrats who are moderate, like Kirsten Sinema, like some of the people, moderates in the House, and, those center-right Republicans. And so, there's not really a large political will on either side to hold people accountable. They want to look into it, and they want to say, the Democrats want to say, hey, we found something. But when push comes to shove, right, we will have to see if anybody's going to go to jail for this, right? Because we know if had it been some black people stormed into the Capitol, they would have been already locked up for years.
I'm thinking about the members of the Congressional Black Caucus who have been getting arrested, literal civil disobedience on behalf of democracy for the people, right? For voting rights. They are out there having sit-ins and demonstrating, trying to move the needle on behalf of the people and going to jail for it, right? You got all these crazy armed white people who are literally doing harm. So there's nothing civil about their disobedience. In fact, they showed up to have destruction, and none of the members of Congress are being, held accountable. There's obviously a stark difference here in what white members are doing and what black members are doing. But I want to bring up something, since we're talking about race, that's also happening today, and I'm curious if you see any connections here. Jury selection has begun in the trial of the Unite the Right organizers. And our viewers, you guys will recall that was the Charlottesville rally, where white nationalists and neo-Nazis end up killing a woman and bludgeon dozens in a violent protest over the removal of a Confederate monument. We know it was about way more than that. Right now, these people there's over a dozen people are going to be on trial. Michael, do you see any connections with Unite to Right and all that happened there January 6th?
Well, that was the first salvo in this kind of domestic terrorist culture war that we're experiencing now, and it's what we saw at the Capitol and on January 6th. That's what we saw with people patrolling the streets and talking about stop the steal. That's what we saw in Arizona. And Unite the Right, in the first sense, was the first manifestation of this thing that we're seeing now, and it's what gave us people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? And the thing that we have to remember when we're talking about Unite the Right and Marjorie Taylor Greene is just not a thing that happened. It is a reflection of a lot of white people in America's grievances and propensity towards violence. And that is because, to get those thousands of people in in Charlottesville, you have to cultivate them from millions of people, right? Like all of the people who felt that way didn't go, and all the people who felt that way and
Yeah.
went didn't commit crimes, right? So you have to realize how many people these people represent. There are people like that in every city, in every state in America, and that's why this prosecution and what we're going to see in this next coming weeks is important.